Greetings Duelists, and welcome to another video. So there's a lot of things I want to cover. There will be probably multiple uploads today. Uh, our new format has literally just begun. I want to get this video out of the way before I work on other decks because whenever I try to play something very unorthodox, I always want to do a little bit of proof and concept, like just showing you if this can be effective in the format, can this be good against other decks, can this be something that people could innovate in the future or like work upon like as this format progresses. And yeah, I'm just gonna show you two replays. The second replay that I'll show is going to transition into another video topic that is going to be very soon. But look at this as a dueling book adventure video more than not. And I'm going to start with the deck list before I showcase any of the duels. So I have a different set of variations with the Dragon Ruler pile. This is like my second out of the four decks that I made with the Dragon Rulers. A few analogies that I found with them is that, like for example, like I think Dragonmaids are really good with their rulers. I know that Lithium made a video with the Kashtira monsters and with the Nemesis monsters, and it was more ruler heavy than with the other dragons. But I feel like the thing that makes the rulers really good is not the rulers themselves, but using the rulers as extenders for other dragon archetypes. Like just having Tempest and Blaster bridge you into like the Tenpai portion of the deck, or the Dragonmaid portion of the deck, or the Dragunity portion of the deck, is really cool. The other thing that the Dragon Rulers do and that make possible for like at least for this Dragon Pile deck is that it gives us a grind game after we start going to the mid to late game. Before this ban list, I was very skeptical whether to believe whether or not the mid to late game was going to be a thing. But as you will see with the duels that I will showcase, you will notice that the mid to late game is not really that hard for it to happen if non-engine is involved. Uh, As you can see from this main deck, I barely have any non-engine cards. Like I only have like 2 or 3. The main reason I am doing this is because I wanted to test the power of the deck without the non-engine. I wanted to see if the dragon cards themselves were good enough to fight through boards that people are making nowadays. Because in a world without Appaloosa, in a world without like very hard omni negates like Baron and Savage, I think that Edwards would be manageable enough to a point where archetypes can be able to handle it themselves if their engine is very cohesive. Um, that's not to say that non-engine is necessary uh, or unnecessary rather, but it's more of like juggling that routine whether or not what to fit in or what to prioritize when it comes to your main engine or not. Like post testing, something that I can easily see myself getting cutting is Tidal and the Water Dragon Rulers. I mean, the water dragons that you can search with Tidal. So these are 4 free spots for like non-engine cards. Another thing I can see myself cutting is the Rocket Engine. I really like the Rocket Engine in this deck because just making Striker Dragon in order to grab like the boot sector, it's just a free +1 that you just get out of any normal summon. and any deck that can give you a +1 even after being interacted by opponent's interruptions, like it should be respected. Like imagine you already open Tracer in your hand or Quick Launch. You just go and, like, for example, normal summon Pydra, that gets interrupted, and then you just turn it into like a Striker Dragon, and then the Striker Dragon gets you to Boost Sector, the Boost Sector special summons the Tracer, and then you just keep playing through that one interruption your opponent had just because you opened the Tracer or the Quick Launch. That's just one out of the many examples I can give. This extra deck is kinda, I'm not gonna say it's tight. I think this extra deck is a little bit flexible, but since I am playing the Dragunity engine, I am playing Atom, I am playing Gadiarge, I am playing Crystal Wing, so that's already a few spots already taken. I really like the Dragonity engine because any engine that can make something like a Crystal Wing without your normal summon, I think should be respected. And the other thing that the Dragonity engine does is that it bridges you into the Atom, which then bridges you into Red Eyes, which then like just gets you into more and more plays. One thing I can see myself cutting because I have not made it enough games is the Borderland package with Triple Burst. I don't think we're going to be facing like too many unbreakable boards, and I feel like if you are summoning Borderland Dragon, you're pretty much at a point in like the duel where like this Borderland is like already win more. Like if your opponent let you get to Borderland and did not interrupt you like in any point, this Borderland is just going to end your opponent's duel. And this Borderland could have been other strong cards. Like imagine just playing Trident Dragon and just like flashing an OTK out of nowhere, and you're probably thinking, well, Trident Dragon is kind of weird because you were not playing that many Tenpai cards. Trident Dragon can be made like with a 2 and an 8. So let's say for example you make one of these Synchro 8s and you have like Dragonity Remus, or Dragonity Remus plus one of the big Dragonmaids like Lorpar that we are playing in this deck also makes that possible. I really like Tiding. Tiding is like a form of interruption that is not monster based. I think any deck that can have engine cards that are just not monster interruptions should be played. But yeah, I think I rambled enough when it comes to this deck list. Let us show you the first replay. So this is against Hydra 91. This was like one of my first rated duels. He's on Salamangreat. So right at the bat, we draw Grass looks greener. And the thing about Grass is that like Grass is kind of okay in this deck because look at the cards that we dumped. This doesn't look like good enough amount of cards, but we did dump Gram and we did dump Tempest. So if you see here, we just banished 2 for the Gram, the Tempest is going to trigger, and then the Tempest is going to grab us a starter. So the Tempest is going to grab us the part of Dragonmaid, and we already have like Chamber Dragonmaid in our graveyard. We also dumped Dragonmaid Tiding, so Tiding can bring back Chamber and start our plays that way as well. And sadly, we did mill Boot Sector, so the Striker Dragon play is no longer possible. But we have enough cards to work with when it comes to our graveyard. So our opponent draws us, and again, draw doesn't really matter anymore because yes, we don't get more searches, but again, we dump the Boost Sector launch. We already have like another Dragon Main rotation. We can dump the fusion spell with the Parlor, and we have ways to make Shu, and we have World Legacy Guard Dragon as well, which can also like kickstart a bunch of our plays. So we do changeover, we grab here, we activate. So we activate World Legacy Guard Dragon. World Legacy Guard Dragon is going to bring Fadra. Fadra is going to try to bring Genroku. They impermit, which is perfectly fine. We just make spheres. We make Shu, and this is our end board. This is the typical end board that you will see in the Dragon deck, and they used 2 hand traps for this, and one of them is a lingering hand trap. I think Droll might push itself back into the format, but not only do we have like our Dragonmaid set up, but we also have follow up, like with Graham being able to be summoned again, the Dragonmaid changeover with the Lonely Dragonmaid in our hand. Like, we have enough plays to get us going. We also have the Heretic Seal. So they grab Foxy. We use Choose Effect and they just scoop because they know that's just too much card advantage. And they don't want to draw us on their own turn. So now they go first. Take note, they do have Nibiru in their hand. We saw Phantasme. Phantasme is debatable whether or not you summon against Salamangreat, because some Salamangreat players are a little bit greedy when it comes to like the link plays, and sometimes you can draw 3 cards out of Phantasme instead of just 2. But I figured I'd just summon Phantasme as early as possible, just put them on like better out this, because not only is this another body on board, but this is another dragon type monster. And the other thing about Phantasma is that it does fix our hand. So yeah, they do some and great things. They have Mirastalio, they have fire. Mirastalio is going to put back our Phantasma to our hand. We're not going to negate that. There's literally no reason to negate. And this is the play I was talking about. Like, Princess bringing back Sunlight Wolf can easily be punished by Phantasme. That's just one of many examples. They do Weasel, they draw, they co-link, they grab Roar, and they set. So they have Roar and they have Nibiru. We start with Dragunity Remus. Remus is going to add Dragon's Ravine. Dragon's Ravine is going to dump the blaster, and our opponent just scoops. They just look at our plays and they think Nibiru and Roar is not enough. But let's keep forwarding the replay, because I do try to simulate. I don't know what there is in their hand, but I want to just showcase you what would my thought process would be if I am playing this deck, just to try to navigate through their interruptions. So I summon Graham, I activate Blaster and Tempest. That grabs us Genroku and Parlor. Genroku gets to summon, Genroku gets to summon Pydra. Pydra gets Sangen Summoning. Sangen Summoning gets us to Chundra. We would Chundra. We make Bident. Bident makes us Super Transcendent. We're going to do the Dragonmaid play. We're going to fuse away our Dragonmaids. We're going to just grab back changeover, and then we go to the battle phase. Like, they did have the Nibiru, but and they did have the Roar, but I think we had enough gas in our engine to just play through those 2 interruptions. I don't think those 2 interruptions were going to be good enough for what we were trying to do, especially since we got to Shu as part of our end board, and Shu pretty much just insulates what any of our opponents plays. We also got the Ascendant Summoning, which makes whatever we summon that is fire based just not being able to be interrupted by our opponent. And that's another really cool thing about Sangen Summoning. Not only does this protect the Tenpai dragons, but this also protects Blaster. And this also protects other fire dragon monsters that we would summon in the future. Like, for example, if you want to play the big Dragonmaid, this also protects it. Let us go to the second replay. So this is against Snake Eye. I will make another video talking about this more in depth, but um, take notice that we opened the grass again, but but this time they do have the Ash Blossom. So we activate the grass, they activate Ash, we just activate the Remus. Remus dumps Grand Tusk. This is going to be a misplay. You will see later in the duel why. Like, I should have kept the Grand Tusk in our hand. So now we start doing Dragunity combos. We do the Tenpai play. We do Pydra. Pydra is going to make Striker Dragon. We're going to grab Boost Sector. We're going to turn those into Romulus. Romulus is going to grab our Dragunity Glow. We're going to activate Glow. Glow is going to add the Mistletoe. This is like the Dragunity play. One of the reasons we play the engine. This is supposed to be in defense position, but it won't matter because we're going to make Atom. Atom is going to bring back Red Eyes. Red Eyes is going to grab us the Atom. The Gadiarch rather. We're going to dump those two cards. And this is the reason why I say, yeah, Borrel and Dragon is really not needed. I don't think we're going to be making end boards that just make Borrel end. So they drew Imperm for turn. We know that this was the top deck because they easily could have used it on one of the Gadiarch effects or the Atom effect. So we negate that just to make sure that the House Dragonmaid resolves, because this just gives us more follow-up. So yep, that resolves. That grabs us that. And now we put our opponent on better break this board. Otherwise, like, they're gonna get punished next turn because we have way too much follow-up for next turn. If this Dragon Ravine does not go away, we're just going to dump Dragunity Graham or one of the Dragon Rulers, and we're just gonna keep playing that way. We also have the Sangren Kaiman, so we can contest during their battle phase. But here's the big problem that's gonna happen. They add Ash, Ash for Poplar. Poplar is going to summon. Poplar is going to grab the Divine Temple. We tried to stop the Divine Temple here with the spheres. I completely forgot that we dumped Grand Tusk Dragon to the graveyard, and this is my misplay because the way I was going to punish my opponent is I was going to spheres back the temple did not resolve, and then the Grand Tusk Dragon was going to pop the Snake Eye Ash and the Poplar, and if you look at the rest of their hand, they pretty much didn't have any other playable cards if that play resolved. However, that is not the case, sadly. We do bounce the temple, but since we don't have Grand Tusk Dragon, we're just going to summon Fadra. Fadra is going to summon Genroku, and then they're going to Talents. I was explaining to him the misplay that I did. So they grab the House Dragonmaid, they link those two away, tribute those two away for Oak. They make the Fiendsmith line, and even though like Snake Eyes can no longer play through Nib, Appaloosa no longer a thing, they still can make access code, and you will notice that they will have enough attributes for access code eventually. So I just letting this play out. Like, again, they have to break through the board, otherwise they're not winning this game. And they just selling access code to make sure that that play is possible. So yep, now we go to game 2. His hand is double bonfire, wanted. So a lot of starters with no going second cards except for crossout. We activate Ravine. Ravine dumps the rocket and they scoop. Yeah, if they don't have hand traps, they're not winning. They go Lure into that into Engraver. They normal Poplar. Poplar grabs Sinful Spoils. They summon Ash. Ash grabs the Birch. Take notice that they opened 1-for-1 and they opted not to use it. I would have used the 1-for-1 and dumped the birch and just summon oak instead of like wasting like the ash effect like that. But you know, to each their own. So this is my opponent's M board, and like I'll let it play out. But can you guess what was the card that he used in order to contest against my full monster hand with their interruptions? I'll let you guess. I'll pause it when it happens. So we add Genroku. Genroku is going to activate. We're going to some Pydra. They use the Disarray on that. We use the Striker Dragon. And this is what I was talking about in the first place. Like we basically got 2+1s out of this. So this was a misplay. I should have activated Boost Sector Launch first, just to bait their Silhouette Rabbit, because if they let Boost Sector Launch resolve, that means another rocket is getting summoned, and that's just another interruption, and none of their set cards can deal with the Tracer if I do summon it. So yeah, Silhouette Rabbit for Azurune to pop the Boost Sector was probably a high possibility if we bluffed it. So that was one misplay that I did, and that's going to punish me. We're going to activate Redox. We're going to activate Tempest. They're going to they tried to Promethean Princess, but they didn't know I had a play with Tempest. We tried to activate Remus, and it gets hit by Cold by the Grave. And now this is where we lose the duel, because this Call by the Grave makes it so we don't get to Dragon's Ravine, which means we don't get to another extender to just fight through the rest of this board. If this Called by did not resolve, or if rather we would have bluffed the Boost Sector properly, or I mean, you know, that's hindsight, but if Dragon Ravine resolved, which is the most important part, we probably would have been beaten through this M board entirely. And not only that, we would have maybe secured like a good mid to late game. Probably the play that I would have done here would have been do Dragon Ravine to dump Chamber, to dump something else, or yeah, since we had the Dragon's Ravine, we could have summoned the Legatus. And since Legatus got summoned, we could have summoned back the Remus, and that's a little bit of pressure already on your opponent. Your opponent will negate the Gate Dart Synchro Summon. There's no way he won't with the statue, because that's already big enough to run over the statue. But yeah, we lose this. We're pretty much gonna lose this game, sadly. We will activate Changeover. Changeover is going to make Shu. They try to Princess. We're going to use Shu's effect to negate. We beat over all their Snake Eye monsters. And yeah, I'll just keep forwarding this. I will talk about their plays with Snake Eye like in another video, like I did promise. But yeah, we pretty much just lost to that one of Cold by. And, you know, if this is the way we lose the game, and not by other monster interruptions, I think this deck is fine. Like, I mean, that's not to say it doesn't need more tweaking. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like one of the best decks in the format or anything. But I remember a lot of people just looking at Dragon Rulers and just saying that they're not going to be worth anything at all in this meta game. I think if somebody's smart enough to like build another Dragon Pile deck like this one, it could actually work. Like, let's say for example you're faced against Yubel, you have like the Quaking Mirror Drago to deal with that. Let's say you're dealing with like an M board that doesn't have like a lot of spell and trap removal. Then the Tenpai plays with Sanguine Summoning gets you there. Yeah, but that's it from me. I hope you found this video to your liking and understanding. More videos coming soon. Keep practicing and keep doing.